What's up, everyone? It's Kanan.
It's Jessie.
And we are the Geeky Saying Couple, back here with another video. Now, before we get started, where the heck are we? We are house sitting / pet sit or dog sitting for a family member of mine. So that's why we're in a whole new kind of setting. Brought a little bit of home with us. We got these at a convention, so they're going to be in the background for the remainder of the videos we do, besides Let's Plays, of course. So for the first time ever, we are talking about a show that is not RWBY. And that is because me and Jess have finally been able to fully watch and catch up with the Owl House. Now, this video, I don't know what I'm going to name it yet, but it's pretty much how we're going to discuss how, after watching it, binging it pretty much, just what we liked about it so far, and how really, like, for me personally, because Jess is more of a Disney nut than I am. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Disney, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I think, for the most part, this is the best animated show Disney has had in years. And that's coming from someone who grew up with 90s Disney. So, so before we get started, of course, if you enjoy our content, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, leave us a comment. We are 30 away from 500 subscribers. So please help us reach that. Okay, so before we did this whole dog, and guys, if you hear the dog, like, they're over there laying, being a good boy and girl right now, but if
you might hear a little clicking, click here and there,
yeah, or mouth sounds or whatever they do. So when we agreed to do this, I knew that they had at least Netflix, stuff like that. But when we got here, we realized they had Disney Plus, which is something this one has wanted for a while. And I was like, see if they've got see if the Owl House is on there. And of course it is. It wasn't up to date. It was up to episode 5, but we did find 6, 7, and 8 to fully catch up on it. And I think it's the only thing we've watched other things, but it's mostly been the only thing we've watched for, 2 days now?
Yeah.
Now, I have, I'm sure she has to, we've seen stuff about the Owl House on Twitter, and the reason why we weren't watching it with everyone else, 2 major reasons. One, I didn't know that it was actually airing on the Disney Channel, because so many new shows have been going straight to streaming services. Yeah. So I just assumed it was a Disney Plus only show,
or the Disney Now, is because that's another thing. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And we don't have any of that.
Yeah, because our internet at where we live is awful. Like,
all of our TVs and our systems are capable of having, like, Disney Plus and a bunch of other channels, but again, our internet. Yeah. And that's the main thing. So
So I just try to keep track of it on Twitter. It looked like a really good show, and like I said, we're going to talk about how this is probably the best show that Disney has had for years. And it's not just about the LGBT representation we're going to be talking about. There's a lot of things that we fell in love with the show. Like, I wanted to keep going, even though episode 9 has not aired yet. I think from now on, we're definitely going to try and catch up to it, or stay with it as it airs. The second reason why we hadn't is because we found out that it airs at 10 o'clock in the morning. And me and Jess are night owls. We don't like getting up early. If we do, it's mostly because of work, or we're going somewhere that requires getting up early.
Or we're traveling to a convention.
Yeah, so I don't know why I've never understood why kids' cartoons are so early in the morning, when I guess there are kids who do get up that early, but like, kids who are, like, going to school and all that, they're not going to be there to watch it. So yeah.
And then when you get home, none of the good stuff is on.
So we'll be catching reruns for sure. I think we looked online that they're rerunning episode 8 until 9 airs. So and plus by the time Disney Plus updates, it'll be August 18th and we'll be back at our house definitely by then. We're only here until Monday. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it. The thing that really drew me, which is the most important thing in any kind of movie, television series, video games, anything, is the characters. And mostly, like, okay, so let's talk real fast about for most of the show, the core main characters. So one, I want to say I think Luce is an amazing main character. She's a type of character that, as brought up many times in the series, goes into things head first without really thinking. And you know, most of the time characters like that get really annoying really quick. It's because they seem to never learn.
Yeah.
But Luce is very likable, and the one thing that a lot of characters like that don't have that she does is she's actually growing as a character. She's not doing that as much anymore. I just kind of worry what's exactly going to happen toward the end. Like, is she ever going to go home? And like, are we going to have this really touching, sad finale? Or are they going to find a way that she can go back and forth? That's what I'd
like to think to go back and forth. And the other thing also, like, when we first, like, were introduced to her, apparently all the trouble that she kept getting into because of the things she's wanting to do because of her weirdness, as she says.
Yeah. Which almost any kid has experienced that.
There's only one other movie that I could think of that has a character that goes through, like, all these extravagant things, but he grows as a character, is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Because of all the experiments he does and gets himself into trouble all the time, he grew as a character, and that was, I guess, one of the few characters that they made that was like that. That wasn't annoying. Yeah. They grew. She has the same kind of track potential for that. So that's another thing, because I love that movie too. So seeing the eccentric things that she did to get herself in trouble because of her weirdness.
I like the way she's written too. Like, yeah, she can be goofy. She can be very, very self-aware of her drawbacks, but she's also got some attitude in a lot of episodes. So I like how she's a good bit multi-dimensional. Now, the one who quickly became a favorite character of mine is Aydah, or Aydah.
I think it's Aydah.
Hey, we watched it for 2 days straight, and I can't remember how to pronounce things.
It's E-D-I, it's Aydah.
Yeah, I thought it was E-D-A.
Edelin.
Oh, okay. But I I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, I really, really do like her. And I mean, her wit, her sassiness,
and who they got to voice her was perfect.
Yeah.
Just
that's another thing. The voice talent in this show is amazing.
As soon as I heard the voice, I was like, I know that voice. And just the way she portrays her, it just really kind of fits. And she fits with that character really well. And
it's funny, they did the same thing. They did the thing with her that they do with most characters like that. Like, she's kind of aloof in a way, kind of doesn't want to show any softness, but as the series goes on, she bonds with Luce, and then toward the finale of season 1, they both tell each other they love each other.
And she does have sass. And the other thing is if anyone outside of like animation, Reba, it's Van's the one that signs him up for the new contracts. Mm-hmm. That's her.
Mm. Oh, okay.
So she's quite sassy, and that's another reason why I said that she definitely fits that character. I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
But that, like, I love, like, between those two and King and everything, I love the sense of like a found family in
Yeah.
a way. Personally, as I was watching, I was like, man, if I was in Luz's situation, I wouldn't want to go home. Like, this life is boring. I want to go.
Understand that she loves her mom, but I'd want to find a way just to keep going back and forth.
Even though her mom never really understood her in a way.
Yeah, I know.
Well, from what we've seen,
yeah,
who like they've still not touched about that shadowy version of her that's apparently with her mom.
I know.
That was creepy. That's another thing about about this show that I love that we'll get into is the tone and writing sometimes. But and then we've got who quickly became a favorite of Jess's, King.
He reminds me of a chibi Beowulf.
But I was like, man, this show just proves more and more to me why I wish pets could talk. Because
Luna would have a mouth.
Well, like of course he comes off a little bit as this little megalomaniac in a way because he thinks he wants to rule and dominate everything, and then the moment you scratch his stomach, he's putty in your hands. And just like the way how he tries to act like he doesn't care about Luce, and then like something like when she created the invisibility glyph for the first time, and she showed like she was only invisible for a couple of seconds, and then when she came back, he was like, "Oh my gosh, never do that again." But it's
or when she first started going to
school. Yeah. What if she never comes back?
She's coming back, right?
But that's how pets are. Like I don't. Is he more than a pet? I don't know. Like they treat him like a dog, you know, definitely, but he's got his own personality, and they're starting to go, you know, a little bit more into his storyline about his father and who he is and all that. And, you know, in the most recent episode, we saw his dad, and, well, Hootie might have screwed that up. But,
I saw my face when I saw what Hootie did. I was just like, I hope that comes back. I mean, Luce got the mouse back, so.
I don't know. He did say, I hope that was junk mail.
Oh.
But yeah, like, I think the moment King showed up, Jess was like, I love him.
It was, if I was an anime character, it would have been the hearts with eyes.
Yeah.
Because he's just huge.
And then we've got, of course, Luz's best friends in this world, Willow and Gus. And like I noticed in this, at least the second season so far, they've not been as involved in the second season.
Not
seems
yet,
like,
no.
as
but I know that
one.
Based on the opening, they obviously will be quite involved. But we're not too far into this season yet, so that, and then all the other things like we learned in the first season, the pairings, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah.
Just what's her name's parents.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to LGBT representation in a moment. But yeah, Willow is pretty much the best friend character, and you know she's very best. Gus
Since I saw her, I fell in love with her too. She was just adorable.
And Gus is pretty much all like. It's funny they went with both the stereotypical best friend. Girl best friend and boy, like Gus is pretty much Luz's bro in a way. That's how they pretty much set them up. If anyone, like, I didn't look into it, but does anyone know if like Gus's voice actor in the second season is the same one from the third one, and then puberty really did kick them hard, or if it's two different people? Maybe they did want to age Gus a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, that threw me off at first. I was like, whoa. Like, when did he get so... Because he was tall. He was, like, shorter than Willow in season 1. And then, first time in season 2.
Grew.
Yeah, it's like, whoa. Puberty hit him like a rock. And then, of course, we've got to talk about Amity. And really, tell you the truth, as much as, you know... And trust me, being RWBY fans, we know how shipping goes. But as much as people were posting about her and Luz... She's not in the show as much as I thought she would be. Like, there's like a good amount of episodes in season 1 and 2 that she's not even in. Like I was
she's
kind of
mentioned in a lot of it, but there's also a lot of gaps where she's not even there.
Yeah, so I was like, because starting season 1, we knew what had happened in episode 8 of season 2, so I was just like, wow, like she's just not in a lot of episodes. It kind of shocked me, but she's in, pretty much at first was kind of like the popular girl with the attitude who had to be better than everybody, coming from a prestigious family, and eventually, they segue into friends, and then more than friends. Though it was pretty obvious that Amity's had a crush for a good little bit. So yeah, that was the first thing for me was the characters. Now, one thing that Jess really jumped on was the writing. Because this show is not written like a Disney, like your stereotypical Disney show. It's got like it's not adult writing by any means,
but it's not like little kid writing either.
Yeah, like it's got attitude, but
it has a balance.
It has
an
a balance,
older
yeah.
balance.
Yeah.
So,
and like I love the fact, like maybe it's just from where we don't watch a whole lot of television anymore, but them bringing up YouTube existing in the show, or her saying, "Hey, out of date human reference," and it was a fidget spinner.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, they just made fun of the fidget spinner craze.
The Switch.
Oh yeah, and there was one.
There's a their world's version of a Switch.
Yeah.
The Instagram.
I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but like our Insta post or something like that. But it was like our Insta scroll. I can't remember, but it was something like that, and it was a call to Instagram. And
I mean, they had like what was it? Well, the fact that Luce said that she's from Connecticut. It was that
was okay.
Throw in a real life, yes, she's from the human world, but usually states aren't named in shows like this. Ones that are very deep in fantasy and all that.
It makes me wonder if there's some type of connection to maybe the writer or something.
Maybe.
Like somebody. It may be a connection to somebody.
And I love all the callbacks to like other things in popular media. Like, yes, this is a very touchy subject still to this day because, the author turned out to be trash, but there's a lot, and I mean a lot of Harry Potter references
yes, and I find
in
it hilarious.
In the Owl House.
I love it, and it's hilarious how they do it.
Yeah. Which is kind of fits because there's a lot of episodes that take place at a magic school, and it's very deep in witches and wizards and stuff like that.
Choosy hat.
Yeah, the choosy hat that ended up devouring people. And another thing about the writing, the show is funny. Like there's usually cartoons that come out now, and it makes me cringe in a way. Some of the writing. But this one legit made me laugh. It has the right level of comedy, I think. The
last show that really, within the first few, seconds of it that drew me in the very first episode was Ruby.
Yeah.
So this did the same thing. Like, as soon as we started watching, I'm just like, I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, I completely drew me in quick.
Yeah. And, but also it's got really touching moments in it, that really makes you go, aw, and makes you, feel all tingly and cry. Yeah. It's got a good few of those moments. I don't know, when I talk about writing and it making me laugh, you can ask her every time King made his little noise. It made me laugh because I just think he's adorable. Because, like I said, he reminds me of a dog, and I love dogs. So, it
does make you wish that animals could talk. Luna would have a mouth. She's sassy, and I can only imagine what would come out of hers.
And the writing is also another reason for me to go into this next one, and it's really why I think, me personally, in my opinion, and I think Jess agrees with me, why it's one of the best animated shows Disney has had in a long, long time. Because let's admit it, Disney has been kind of in the last couple of years because they're going more with the live action stuff
And then they had the 3D phase.
well, I mean, they still kind of have that with
They
CGI.
got the CG, like the 3D CGI. Like I'm talking like
because they've got big hits like Frozen, which is CGI and all that, which that's fine.
No, I'm talking like even just like the regular cartoons, like even I know like Mickey Mouse. They instead of making it like kind of like 2D, 3D like animation, it was like full on 3D redone animation, and I honestly didn't care for a lot of the stuff that they went through a phase where like everyone was doing that. Like they did that with like I know Care Bears did that and all that, and I was like, ugh, God.
Well,
I
think it's because I'm not into I know nothing about animation, but maybe it's cheaper and faster to do CGI than hand drawing.
It just I know there was a time where it was just like this trend that everyone was redoing it that way.
And you gotta understand, guys, like I think even though Jess is a couple of years younger than me, we grew up with the 90s Disney Channel.
I was watching Xenon last night.
But I was always more into their animated television shows than I was the movies. There are movies I love, like I've said time and time again. Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorites. The Little Mermaid was one of my favorites as a kid. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, because it was so dark. That was so different for a Disney movie at that time. Even though Disney movies are dark in their own ways. Yeah, Hercules, Tarzan.
And the music and all those is just amazing.
But as a kid, I loved the animated television shows. DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Bonkers. What else was there? I'm drawing a blank. Aladdin, the animated series. Little Mermaid animated series. Timon and Pumbaa.
The original, the Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
That had the box sets and stuff like the VHSs.
So I grew up with those, and I always preferred the animated series all the way.
And it was also cool seeing the original hand-drawn animations that they did to create those, which there's places in Disney that you can actually still see that.
Yeah. And it's just this, I've tried to give new cartoons a chance, and
it really depends on what it is now.
Yeah, and a lot of them are so dumbed down, and I know most of the time, yes, they are for kids, but sometimes it's almost insulting to the kids' intelligence sometimes with some stuff they put in these shows.
I've seen some little kids that I've watched stuff with that they're just like, can we watch something else? Even if a little kid is pointing out something like that, there's something wrong.
Well, also with
the only other thing that's with animation that wasn't Disney that I still watch that was, it was obviously past the 90s, is Phineas and Ferb. That was kind of different too. And it's still ongoing, and they haven't changed the style, which I like. They've just, come on, you have an infinite list of things that you could create with anything. So that show can keep going.
Come on, I grew up with the most offensive show on Nickelodeon back when I was a kid, and that was Ren and Stimpy. But as I got older, I started leaning more towards cartoons that are a bit more adult in tone. Now, when I say adult, I don't mean South Park, Family Guy, stuff like that. I'm talking about shows like Batman the Animated Series, The Legend of Korra, Ruby, She-Ra, cartoons that anyone can watch, but have darker themes, and because even the Owl House has some really dark moments. Because I read online, it's actually under the horror genre. A little bit.
Which it would kind of fit a little bit. And then you can also tie in
But it's kind of Nightmare Before Christmas horror in a way.
Yeah, and then you can tie in some of the stuff with us growing up, besides all that, is between Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball. That was also geared more towards
young adults.
Yes, and even though I was 6 years old when I first saw Sailor Moon, so we didn't see as far into how it is, like I have now, but the darker tones.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of real stuff, and they tried to they've related some real life things into a fantasy aspect.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed how they did this.
Yeah.
It stands out.
And one thing that I've really enjoyed. Now the second season's opening is fine, because they still included the part but I fell in love with the opening of it because I love toward the end of the opening when it's just this free moving animation when Luce is on the staff and she's flying around and all that, interacting with everybody. And I was just like, I don't know. I just love free moving animation like that because I think it looks so nice.
It stands out because not a lot of people do it.
No.
Not especially that way. I'd like to think it's a lot more complicated to do more free motion like that because of how fluid it goes. So, yeah. I mean, very talented.
So I'll get onto later why I have a love-hate relationship with Disney, and this show is one of the reasons. So let's, of course, get to the big one, and that is the LGBT representation in the show. I mean, you touched upon it earlier. You got Willow, who has two dads.
Which, as soon as we saw that, I was like, I know we had seen bits and pieces and pictures before we actually got into watching it. But I saw that, I was like, why is no one talking about this?
They probably did, we just missed it.
Yeah, I probably have just missed it, but that was the first thing I said. Two dads, why aren't we hearing about this?
So yeah, besides the little hints between Luce and Amity, that was the first big thing in it. And then of course you've got in season 2, Aydah and Rain. Rain is I believe I read it right, the first Disney character that is non-binary, and I believe I read that indeed that Rain and Aydah were in a relation. Well, I mean, we saw in the show that they were in a relationship, and so many people pretty much jumped on. Oh, so Aydah is LGBT as well. So that's amazing. I already loved her, so love her new harpy form. But
and she got even more sad. She goes, ooh.
Yeah. And of course, we have got to talk about Lumity. So we were actually going to bed when because people in other countries or had other means of seeing the episode early went ahead and posted it that if you haven't seen it, spoiler warning, that Luce and Amity finally finally started going out, and I was like, to me,
my Twitter feed blew up.
Well, yeah, to me it was of course we got the cheek kiss before that, but to me that was used because this is Disney. Disney has been repellent of full on LGBT representation because let's face it, a lot of things they've passed on has been background characters who you just see in a passing. I know they did it in a Marvel movie. There was the thing in Finding Dory, and one of the dogs is chewing on their bone. Gable. Not right now, buddy. Okay. He's just looking at me. That doesn't mean come over here. We're getting invaded by dogs, guys. Well, no, I don't think they can get over here. They're trying to find their way over to us. So yeah, this was Disney. I never thought Disney would do it.
No, and I know there's still an ongoing petition of give Elsa a girlfriend.
So maybe this will lead to them finally allowing it to happen. Who knows? But very happy. I am, even before we finally got to fully watch the show, I shipped it. I thought it was a very cute ship, and I mean, it's no longer just a ship anymore. It's a full-on relationship. Can't wait to see how it progresses because we still got a lot of season 2 to go. So yeah, I mean, bravo to the team behind the Owl House. I will give some props to Disney for letting it happen.
I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely gonna catch episode 9 when it airs. But that leads me to my love-hate relationship with Disney, and that is that Disney, whenever they are on the verge of something great, they screw it up. And that leads me to the whole situation with season 3 and the fact that the Owl House is ending after season 3. Season 3 is going to be 3 long specials. That's better than nothing, but this show could easily run for like 6, 8, even 10 seasons. I don't understand companies being scared of long-running TV shows anymore, because it seems like they're on for maybe 3 to 4 seasons and then they're done.
You don't see animated in that.
Well, it's a whole different situation.
But my point is the companies, they just keep them ongoing, but it seems like Disney picks and chooses what's going to continue going.
Yeah. And it seems like back in the day, shows ran forever. Now, as a kid, you see reruns and you don't exactly know which episodes was one season, which was the other. You just know it was always on. Yeah. So you just assumed it was very long. But, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's a real shame that this show, as great as it is, and as great as a splash it has made, you've got a lot of people talking about this show, and Disney just wants to end it. I don't have no idea if it's about the LGBT representation. I mean,
I'd like to think not, because that's not a good look.
No, especially with them posting on Twitter, celebrating Lumini becoming canon and all that. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Like I said, on one hand I like Disney, on the other hand I don't. I don't want to rant about it, but it's a shame, because it's a really, really good show. Like I said, it's probably the best animated show Disney has had in several years, and it's just a shame that it's not going to go any further in the foreseeable future. Though they did say, the creator of the show did say that, spin-offs, comics, books, could come out of it. But yeah, it's just a shame. I do hope it comes out on DVD. We will buy it. But yeah, I mean, really, this was just a sit down and talk to you guys, because we finally saw this show. I would highly recommend to anyone who if you just enjoy a fantasy show, if you like fantasy work, you'll enjoy it. If you like witty writing, you'll like it. If you like a show that'll make you laugh but then almost want to make you cry in another episode, you'll like it, because it does have a lot of great touching moments. And I mean, it's just it's a historical show. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And I just hope once season 3 is over with, we don't allow Disney just to act like it didn't exist, or they just try to bury it with other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, please, DVD release at some point. So yeah, I think that's all we've got on that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, and Gable has to say his goodbyes too. Please leave us a comment. Tell us what you think of the Owl House, if you have watched it, or if you haven't, if you're thinking about watching it. As always, guys, this is Kanan.
This is Jessie.
We love you all very, very much. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Go watch the Owl House, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.